Find my name. I'm going tomorrow.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see everybody out tonight. Welcome to our May meeting of the Caldwell Urban Renewal Agency. Again, good to see you. We also want to welcome those who are viewing around the world on YouTube tonight. So, hello from Caldwell. Thank you for your interest. Would the secretary call the roll?
Porter?
Here.
Ramirez?
Here.
Moore?
Here.
Aldridge?
Here.
Morley? Here. Jones?
Here. Thank you. We have a quorum for sure. Mr. Foltz is away this evening. He has an excused absence. As with any meeting, is there a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda for the members of the commission? Okay. Seeing none, we do have one special presentation tonight. It's from Mr. Mapp from Planning and Zoning. He's going to enlighten us on what exactly a comprehensive plan map is and how it applies to our business here as Urban Renewal Agency. Mr. Mapp has 10 minutes. Your time starts now.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Jerome Mapp, Plan Director for the City of Caldwell. I'm going to give you an hour and a half presentation. 10 minutes. The Local Land Use Plan Act was adopted in 1975. The Act requires that every city and county has to have a comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan has 17 elements, which are in chapters. The handout I gave you, which is the written portion, those are the 17 elements. So I'm not going to spend time talking about those. What we're basically talking about tonight is in regards to the comprehensive plan map. The comprehensive plan map is a guide to future zoning within the city.
Mr. Mapp, can you pull the mic up? Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. The comprehensive plan map is a guide to the future zoning for the city. It's broken down in two areas. Within the city limits is where we have our comprehensive plan, our zoning ordinance. Outside the city limits is called the area of city impact. That's what you see before you at this time. What the city does is they look at what kind of land uses they would like to have within that area. This map was done in 2021. The blue is industrial. The yellow is residential. The red, I believe, is commercial. Those are land uses. The comprehensive plan map is adopted by resolution. So it's a guide, it's not a law. What we've done in this project in reviewing of the area city impact is at one point in time, this is what we thought the land uses would B. So you see the boundary, that's the boundary of the area city impact in Caldwell. Next slide. You have that before you as well. Okay, so if you take the other map and just put it next to it, you will see that we're looking at expanding the area city impact. And that's the red border. The black border is the existing area city impact. Now, as it relates to the county, that area is in the county right now. It is not in the city of Caldwell, which means that an agreement between the city and the county, which is the area city impact agreement, is approved by the county commissioners and the city council. And what that agreement states is that any development within the area city impact, that the county will abide by the rules in the city, such as zoning, subdivision requirements, street improvements, etc. We have no authority. All we have is recommendation power to the counties. So what our challenges are is to identify compatible uses. You don't want to put residential next to industrial. You want to have a transition, if you will. And there's different types of residential. Some residential may work, but in general, you don't want to put single-family dwellings next to commercial. If you're next to industrial, there's two types of industrial: light industrial, production, manufacturing, and then you have heavy industrial, and that's usually based upon a use that has some kind of hazards or an incompatible use, such as noise, odor, vibration. You don't want to put those next to residential. So our challenge as we look at our current area city impact is that most of the uses that have been discussed are industrial in nature. We do have one residential area, which is Irvine Village. We want to be able to provide some type of buffer between that use and other land uses nearby. So in the north urban renewal district area, one that we've been talking about lately, the land use that we see more requests for are industrial. But there's a need also for service and highway commercial. The service is that, say you have 3,000 jobs in an area, and if a person wanted to go to a doctor, go have lunch, etc., they have to come all the way into to downtown Caldwell to do that. You wanna have that use nearby, because you wanna have that traffic going from A to B a long distance. There's also a need for residential, but from my opinion at this time, not within the urban renewal district. That should be located outside. Our office knows that. Notice has about 200 unit housing development going in that area. So that's only a 4-minute drive away. And so people who may work there may live in Notice. They may live in Wilder or Parma or New Plymouth or Boise. So we have to look at the configurations of the streets, highways, freeway, because of that. So as mentioned, our current challenge is that around Farmway, we have to provide a buffer. We have to determine what kind of buffer that would be, but we're not going to encourage any more residential in that particular area. So in closing, one of the important things for the city is to have an updated comprehensive plan and a comprehensive land map. Our current plan was approved in 2020. But it was actually designed for 2019 because that's when the change happened within our city in regards to growth. We're about 68,000 right now, and sure to expand that over the next couple of years. So I will stand for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Matt. Any questions? Council? Okay, great. Thank you, Jerome.
Thank you.
Thank you for compressing that as well as you did. Much appreciated. We're going to make just a very small, innocent little adjustment to our agenda this evening and go on down to consent calendar where we need to make a...
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Warwick.
I move we amend the consent calendar on item number 4 to change that address to 213 South Kimball, and also to move item 5A that's down further up to the public comment area of the agenda.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Is there a second? Second. Okay. We have a motion by Ms. Warwick, a second by Mr. Ramirez. Would the secretary call the roll?
Warwick? Yes. Moore?
Yes.
Porter?
Yes.
Stoney?
Yes.
Alden?
Yes.
Ramirez?
Yes.
Very good. So that change is made to the agenda. Okay. We have a
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms.
I
Warwick.
move we approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you. We have a motion by Ms. Warwick. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Allgood. Secretary call the roll.
Warwick?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Porter?
Yes.
Stoney?
Yes.
Alden?
Yes.
Ramirez?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much. Now, we did this for the benefit of the audience, so we could move you way up the line and allow you to have your public comment time right now. Are there any members of the public that would like to address this council on a matter?
Thank you.
Sure. You give us your name and
I will.
and what you're here to talk about.
I am Don Denton. I'm president of the Canyon County Pickleball Club. And these are my people. Anyway, we all play pickleball. You know, I started playing at age 74 8 years ago. and it has been great. We have played, the club has played at many different places. We started playing at Mallard Park on that concrete pad. We moved to Valley View High. We played at the middle school at Valley View. We played at Syringa, and every time we moved, we had to mark courts, and the club did that. We taped out the courts, we marked out the measurements, we adjusted the tennis nets, because we did have to make a conversion. And, you know, about 4 years ago, the city, by resolution, allowed us to go to Luby Park and take those old tennis courts. And in their words, they said rehab. Well, we did the best we could. I mean, we had people, volunteers, everybody's a volunteer. We tried to fill the cracks, we tried to, you know, mow the weeds, we tried to do, you know, clean up the place. We put in, the city gave us $3,000, and we put in 5 permanent nets. Okay, that gave us with a 6 courts that we were able to salvage out of the tennis courts. We have been playing on those for the last 4 years, and you know, we have 2 events a year, we have 2 tournaments a year. We also added a new event this year with the spring fling, that was April 23rd. They are growing and growing and growing. So, you know, we installed the 5 nets with the permanent posts, and we played around the cracks, and we also played around the ducts that took advantage of the flood irrigation. And that takes us up to today. You know, pickleball is growing. You might say we've got a pickleball tsunami moving right now. It is growing so fast. 4.8 million people are playing pickleball today, and it's growing worldwide. The 4.8 is in the United States. It's growing very fast, and it's not only for the so-called senior. There's nobody senior here, by the way. The so-called seniors are really giving away to the younger set right now. There is a pro circuit moving right now. It's on television. If you just Google it, pickleball, you'll find it everywhere. The pro circuit is offering tens of thousands of dollars, and quite honestly, it won't be long before we see it at the Olympics. We are in desperate need. Caldwell is in desperate need of pickleball courts. We have found that the courts that we have, yes, we can play on them, but it would sure be nice if we didn't have to chase balls or worry about the water on the court.
Or the cracks.
Oh, the cracks, okay, no, don't. The people here are our friends, they're all friends, we know each other, we have their ups and their downs. It's a social activity, and that social activity is bringing people in. Those people that are coming in are not only from Caldwell. We have a membership now at the end of our fiscal year of 120 dues-paying members, 120. They pay $15 a year. They have access to the 2 events that we have, and also the club provides lunch. There are many, many courts being pursued in the Boise area, the Meridian area, also in the Knapp area. So we're kind of behind the 8 ball here, and I don't like to, you know, be negative at all, because it's a positive thing that we're doing. The social aspects of the game are monumental. You know, we go with our ups and downs, we go with our broken bones, the pickleball elbow, as well as all the bumps and bruises. And that's the social aspect of the game of pickleball. It's also got a lot of physical attributes. You know, I mean, I'm still playing. I've got 2 artificial knees, I've got 1 kidney, I've got a bad back, but I'm not gonna stop playing pickleball. And I can guarantee you that every one of these people out here will say the same thing. The courts, the 8 courts that we are asking for will fit the space that is allocated there, the old tennis courts. As one of our players said, and he's a senior player, by the way, we do not need gold-plated courts. We just want courts. Courts that we don't have to worry about the cracks, courts that we don't have to worry about chasing the pickleballs all over the whole area. That's what we're looking for. The demand is increasing, our club tournaments are growing bigger. Those tournaments draw people in. We can't do a big national tournament, but we sure can do a regional, local tournament that would draw in. Our club tournaments, 45, 50 people?
Probably more than that.
60 people. And, you know, basically they came from all over. We got people here from Parma, we got a member that's sitting back here from Parma, New Plymouth, you know, the Boise area. People from the Boise area love to come over here because we have the friendliest courts in the Treasure Valley. And that's why they like to come over here to play. And if you've ever seen or been in the other, and I hope you are, you have a standing invitation, all of you, to come out to Luby when the weather gives us a break. Come out to Luby and play. Finally, I know there's no decisions to be made tonight. However, we would like to be involved in the process, see the courts, the design that they've come up with, go to bid, and see what the private sector will do for us. You know, we would really like to have the court. With that, I think there are 1 or 2 other people that have a few words to say, and I'll turn the time over to them. And I've asked them to be brief, and I tried to be brief, but I just run out some time.
Mr. Denton, before you go.
Okay.
Thanks for your words. Are there any, questions for Mr. Denton from the commissioners? Yes, Dave.
Is there any type of supporting documentation that would show what kind of revenues a tournament would bring in, maybe in Napa, Boise? Is there any historical?
I honestly can't speak to that. Is there anybody here that can?
I can get it for him. I can get it for him.
Okay, one of our members says they can get that
I can get
information.
that for you.
All I know is the Boise Club's got a bank account of $26,000, and a lot of that is from tournaments. So, any other questions?
Great. Thank you, Mr. Denton.
Okay. Randy's coming up, and I think we got another person back here that would like to say a few words.
My name's Randy Young. I want you to think about pickleball as really a community event and so forth. I've just had the privilege for the last few years of doing workshops through your Parks and Recreation Department, where we have then introduced pickleball to youth, adults, and we worked with Denise Milburn over in Parks and Rec. Also, I want you to know that there have been some youth groups that have contacted me, and I've brought one down here where they are wanting to learn pickleball, and we just came down on the hope that the course would be available. And I discovered that there's also another group that's playing in evenings. We mostly have been playing in the mornings and during the day. So there's a large involvement. And as you think about the people that come, I want you to think about it also builds your business just a little bit, in the sense of they stop at restaurants, they'll run over to the Maverick, they'll fill up their gas tanks, and so forth. Then when they see the park, it then expands to, this is a nice setting, maybe we can do some of our family activities here. Those are things to keep in mind. As to tournaments, I can't give you a cost, but there's a tournament that gets put on down in Twin Falls every year. Called, you know, I think it's the Father's Day Bash, and I think this year they're doing another one in addition. They only have 6 courts at this time, but they actually go a step beyond and go put it into some of the more tournament management aspects. So they need to be bringing in money from their tournament, and that's on 6 courts. And with our courts, as what we've seen or, you know, suggested, we haven't seen the final plan, our courts would be sanctioned for other tournaments that we could run. Maybe not in a single day, but maybe in a 3-day thing, and that would then also increase those people that would be able to play at different levels and with different skill sets. But these are great. I'm betting, you'll see more youth groups coming and other people from organizations that want this to happen. This is the fastest growing sport in the United States right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Any questions for Mr. Young?
Good evening, my name is Gene Schaefer. I live at 2416 Terrace Drive in Caldwell. I've been a member of this club since its inception and have really enjoyed not only the people, but the activity. It has really been a blessing to us. We try and do it between 3 and 4 times a week, if not more. And everybody here will do basically to have the same schedule, if you will. We don't all play at the same time, but we all play. The reason that I am up here is I want to just mention that as you make your consideration of this project, I am a licensed architect and willing to go and give my services complimentary to the city. I've worked with Rob in years past, and we have a great working relationship, but I would be glad to go and help in analyzing the plans and how to go and get the budget to really work for everybody. And with that, I would mention one thing. You know, they mentioned it's one of the fastest growing sports. My wife and I took a cruise recently, and on that ship, they played pickleball.
They had a court.
And so everybody's trying to accommodate pickleball wherever you go. And so we just asked the city, you folks, to be able to go and assist us in that, in obtaining better facilities for our club and the city. We thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Any questions for Mr. Schaefer? Please.
Mr. Chair, I sort of have a question for Mr. Schaefer, just a comment. If I did my math right, Mr. Denton, you're 82 years old?
81.
That's pretty impressive. You know, so what that tells me is pickleball is keeping some of these folks young. And, you know, as a person that runs Caldwell Meals on Wheels, I serve a lot of 82-year-olds that are not in the good a shape as you are. So, you know, this, you know, this will benefit for our seniors as well, having that kind of facility here in Caldwell.
And we have another 87-year-old who plays with us regularly.
That's Tanner. Yeah.
Pardon?
That's Tanner.
Yes, left-handed. And he was one of the math professors up at College of Idaho for years. But anyway, he probably is as good as anybody out here. He is a great player, and at 87, you know, you've got to, you know, really recognize the importance of how that really helps all of us be physically fit. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Appreciate it. Mr. Ramirez?
I know we had a discussion a while back about the URA being involved in pickleball. Have you heard any numbers or anything coming out of that? Is that something we're going to discuss later, or is that something we're going to be hearing about in the future?
Definitely in the near future. Rob, do you want to address that real quick? You shared a little bit of how the process is going right now.
Chairman, I also have a question for Gene as well.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commission. This is obviously a significant project that we have been working on for several years, and so where we are at in the process now is, design is nearing completion. I think the designers are about 90% complete. They expect to have final design done in probably in about 2 to 3 weeks. And from there, the project would go out to bid, and it would be a competitive bid, and then the lowest bidder would be awarded the project. The estimates, that are coming in, the estimate that we have now is not a construction estimate, it's just an engineer's estimate. And keep in mind, engineer's estimates in this day and age and in this market are very difficult because, the market is so volatile, and so they want to estimate high to make sure that the bids come in under the estimate. But the estimate for the court, which includes a full rehab, it scrapes the existing court, it adds 8 pickleball courts, the footings and basically the pavement is a post-tension concrete pavement, which is supposed to last the longest. With fencing separating all the courts, everything included, the estimate's over $700,000. I can't remember the exact number. And so it is a significant number, but it's really going to be a nice facility that is something that Caldwell can embrace and make sure that, we have this facility in Caldwell, and it puts us on the map a little bit from the pickleball standpoint. Once it goes out to bid, we'll get the bids back. When we get the lowest bid back, then that document will come back before this body, and this body will be able to look at that number and ask questions, and then decide at that point to move forward or not move forward. Does that answer your question? It does. And Mr. Chair, I have another question. You mentioned adding, does that mean it's going to be added to some kind of multi-use other than just pickleball? Or it's just going to be pickleball courts, that's what the design calls for?
The design is just for pickleball. It will be designed just for pickleball use. Yep. Any other questions for Mr. McDonald? Okay, thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. And Mr. Moore, you had a follow-up question for Mr. Shaper, is that correct?
Yeah. Mr. Shaper and I've worked before. Have you seen any preliminary plan for this?
No, I have not.
And you'd be willing to help facilitate something?
Certainly.
Yeah. I've worked with him before, he's pretty common sense guy. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shaper.
One more comment, if I may.
Mr. Dent?
I would like to leave with Rob.
We just discovered this. It's from it's called thepricer.org, and what they do is they price projects. And one of our members found this, and I'd like to leave it with Rob, and it's the cost to build a pickleball court. And I think Rob will find this very interesting, and I'll hand it to him now. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
And by your leave, if we may, take my people and go.
We have another speaker.
Okay, just one more.
Hi, my name's Deb Redmond, and I've been playing pickleball. When we started with Don, we only had 5 of us, and now, like you said, we have over 100 members. One thing Don asked me to talk to you about, just to let you know how big pickleball is and all the visitors that we have through the summer. There is a website you can go to. It's called playtimescheduler.com. You can put in your email address. Once you do that, you can bring up your state and the whole United States. Where if you take a RV trip to New York, you can bring up New York. You can pick the region that you're out, and it will show you every one of the pickleball courts that are available where you can go play. You can schedule a session, and what that does is let you know once 4 people sign up to play there, you know you can go play on a court and you're going to have enough to play the game. It's a huge, I don't know how many, there's no cost for it. So I would encourage all of you to just look at that and look at where all the courts are just in our rural area, in the Boise area. So Don wanted me to talk about that, and I want you to know that, John already covered some of the things, but there isn't any age limit or conditions based on physical ability, including wheelchair pickleball. They just had a U.S. national tournament 2 weeks ago, and they have pickleball wheelchair. And like they let the ball bounce twice, and they can get the front wheel into the kitchen. You probably don't know what that is, but anyway, you know, everyone can participate if the level is comfortable for them, no matter what level you play, beginner, intermediate, recreational, competitive, or professional. You can enjoy every minute on the courts and have fun and new people. And when Don says pickleball and Caldwell are the friendliest courts, he really means it, because people come from everywhere and they tell us we have the friendliest courts anywhere in the valley. And the way the courts are right now, we have a beginner court, the next step, and just on with all 6 courts. And so you can play, if you feel like you're really doing good, you can jump up and play the next court and see where your game is. If you lose a few in a row, you might consider going down a court. But anyway, pickleball's wonderful, I love it. I talked to my doctor about it, and she said she always encourages the senior citizens to come to 2C pickleball so that they could learn the game and get some exercise. And I played a week ago, and I had 14,000 steps, so got 7 miles on my Fitbit. So it's surprising. So thank you so much for your time and what you're doing for Caldwell and pickleball. We really appreciate all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Ms. Roberts?
The thing that worries me is all the drinking and the loud music.
Yeah, we do have one Hawaiian guy that plays Hawaiian music while we play pickleball. So drinking, water, that's. We need water and electrolytes.
No, just thank you guys for coming down. I really appreciate it. And it's, you know, for me, I won't speak for the rest of the group. For me, everything is just costing so much, so stinking much these days. We're struggling with the cost of things, but you guys are certainly tenacious, I can say the very least, and I really appreciate that. So thank you guys.
Well, thank you very much.
We'll teach them. We give lessons.
If I may, real quick, my name is Steve Neely, I live on Lake Avenue in Caldwell, and I want to say, rock and roll. I want to say that you've seen the passion of the pickleball people, of the players. I've been involved with 2C pickleball since the inception, and what I want to say is highest and best use. Think of Luby Park as it is now, and think of what a nice facility of pickleball there would do. First of all, you're going to have to bring the rest of the Luby Park up a little bit to make it a little nicer, but then that ties in to the downtown area, and with the tying into the downtown area, that brings you business, brings you more people. Just think about that. That's a good thing for Caldwell.
Thank you. Dave, did you have another question?
Yeah, I did. Somebody said they had some economic information. What do you think is another favorite city?
You said you could get it. You said you could get it. You didn't.
Some information on the cost of.
Impact tournament.
Oh, I can get that for you.
She doesn't have it now.
I don't have it
I
now.
think you wanted your name.
What's your name?
Deb Redmond?
Deb Redmond? Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Bob.
Hi, my name is Bob Brady. I'm a Caldwell resident, and I'm a relative newcomer to pickleball, and been doing it about 10 months. And I tell everybody that I meet and know that I love pickleball. It's a game for everyone. About a month ago, I was at the Y playing pickleball, and I had an epiphany. A young man was sitting there, probably about 15 years old, watching us play. And I turned to him and I said, "Would you like to play?" And he said, "Can I?" And I said, "Come on." And he said, "I don't have a racket." And I said, "Somebody here will give you a racket or lend you a racket." So he came down and played, and his excitement was just overwhelming to me. Everything he did was exciting, whether he hit the ball or missed the ball or scored a point or just missed, he was just excited. And my point is, pickleball is a game that not just us older folks enjoy, but it's a game that everyone can enjoy. I tell people that it's wonderful. We play, everybody here has played with everybody else, because it's set up so you're continually rotating. It's a game for male, female, it's for tall, short, big, little, for old, for young. It's just a wonderful game. And I'm surprised nobody else has said this, but I'll say it. If you build it, they will come. Thank you very much.
Very good. Well, thank you for your comments this evening, and thanks for coming out. And we will take a 2-minute break to allow the room to clear and pick up your rackets.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Mr. Jenkins, we are ready for you.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Very tough acts to follow. I actually went to a restaurant in Kansas City, Chicken and Pickle, and it is a lifestyle venue with a restaurant and a pickleball court integrated into the facility, which is unbelievable. So it gives you an idea of how quickly the sport has grown, but it was jam-packed in there. So very, very interesting. But I will go into my updates here, and I'll start off with some miscellaneous updates. So I'm working with a developer to attract a grocer in East Caldwell, and I've been working with this group for quite a while, but things are starting to materialize, which is great. So we've had some great conversations with some large grocers, and we're sharing information with them now regarding rooftops and just different numbers that will indicate patterns of growth. So that's essentially how they compile information and analyze the area. So we're working really diligently to provide them details and get them all they need. But yeah, we are on the radar for a couple large grocers. I'm also working with some workforce housing developers. This is a critical issue, of course, in the state of Idaho, and it has been an economic development issue for some time. But as we look at the community holistically, it's important to fill those gaps. So bringing in jobs is terrific, but if no one has a place to live, it really sours our efforts. So we're working closely with some workforce housing developers out of Ada County that are looking to bring their product in the canyon. Project Build, this is a large expansion project by a reputable business. They will be expanded by 60,000 square feet later this year. We just got through a pretty big development hurdle, and they're moving forward pretty quickly with their plans, so that's exciting. Project Pepper, this is working with a hospitality group interested in locating to Caldwell. They're considering a 100-room hotel on the outskirts of downtown, so they're trying to be in the greater Caldwell area, but I've shared with them multiple sites that are somewhat available off the market so that they can identify those sites and look at prospective locations for a future hotel. And then lastly, the Bluebird Car Wash, they're moving quickly with their plans for a facility off Franklin Road, exit 29. So this will be a great car wash facility that will add to the revitalization efforts in that area. As we shift gears to North Caldwell in the Urban Renewal District, there's a large 40-acre parcel that just went under contract maybe 3 weeks ago. And this is the national developer that's looking to do some speculative industrial development out there. Project MT, they are also considering North Caldwell, and this is a large commercial sales and storage company, and they're looking at sites off of I-84, so to the west, of course, in our Urban Renewal District. And I'm also working with a large developer that has a significant tenant that is looking at North Caldwell as well. So North Caldwell, just in a nutshell, the area has really taken me by surprise, just because obviously our utilities aren't up to speed in that area. But just the activity that we've seen thus far has been really encouraging. I've heard from site selectors all over that they now have us on their radar because it's Urban Renewal District. So it's a testament to the work that you all are doing here in this commission. I also have a site visit that's planned for tomorrow morning. Ophelia and I are meeting with a group that is looking at a large site in North Caldwell. So they're coming out and talking more about that site. So again, just a lot of activity. And then Project Imagine, this is a common project that we've heard for quite some time. We continue to work closely with their site selectors on the site out in North Caldwell, and things are moving along quite well. We have a couple hurdles to get through, but from the city and the county perspective, things have gone pretty smoothly. Of course, we have financial things to work out and everything else, but we are getting closer. Project New York, this is a large commercial car wash. They're interested in the Caldwell area, in addition to Bluebird. So we're starting to see a lot of those big, fancy car wash facilities looking at our market, which is indicative of growth patterns as well. So we're seeing more and more of that. And then Project 600, this is the last group that I'll mention in North Caldwell. They're actually on the fringe of our Urban Renewal District, but they have a 40-acre parcel under contract, and they've been working diligently to get this project off the ground. But this is a large logistics and warehousing facility that they're looking to put out there. They're actually arguably the furthest along in the development process. They've had multiple meetings with the city and the county, so very excited about this project to take form. And as we shift gears to downtown, Project Lone Star, I am meeting with them. They're out of Ada County. They're a restaurant group. They've looked on our market for about a year. I have a meeting scheduled with them in a couple weeks, but things are looking strong on that front as well. So looking to add another strong restaurant group to our market. Project Spud, this is a brewery concept. They're interested in downtown Caldwell. They've identified 2 locations, and we have a site visit that we're looking to coordinate later this month. Bond and Bevel, this is a group, of course, that has moved into our market from Oregon. They've done extremely well. They're off to a great start. They're actually pre-ordering for some of their products, so that's exciting to see. But they're a great concept of leather goods and coffee and mercantile, so it's exciting to see their strong success. And then Creekside, of course, that project is moving along. I know Taylor here with us is going to provide an update on that one, but I walked the site last week, and they are making some terrific progress, so really good things ahead there. And then Project Battle, this is a local outerwear group that's considering the downtown area. They've been looking at our market for roughly 6 months, but we have identified an opportunity that they are going to pursue. So excited to hopefully welcome them into our market here soon. And then lastly, working with an arcade venue that will be expanding their operation in Caldwell. They have secured a 10,000 square foot building in downtown Caldwell, so looking to open later this year. And of course, I have 3 kids, so the arcade piece was certainly something that piqued my interest. And with that, Commissioner, Chairman, Commissioner, that's all I have, unless there are any questions for me.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Are there any questions for Steve? Great, very good. Thank you, Steve. Ophelia?
Good evening. I'm glad the pickleball folks showed up today, because I now know what to do to lose this weight that I gained eating through our downtown. So here are my updates for downtown. Project Yellow is a thriving local restaurant. They returned for an in-person tour through our downtown. They were currently looking at Canyon County. They're currently in Ada County. They have 4 restaurants currently in Ada County, and they're looking to expand after our tour. They have decided that Caldwell will be their next 2C location. And hopefully, they are hoping to open in 2023. Project Grow is a local wellness company that is seeking to expand their presence in Canyon County. They currently have a location in Canyon County, not Caldwell though. Project Light needs business whose demographic targets males who are well educated on their product, and they're looking at our downtown as well. New businesses, Benigns, Denim and Vinyl, they're retail clothing. They offer, various styles of denim, clothing, vinyl records, and cassette tapes. I guess cassette tapes are a new thing. I had no idea that they were in popularity again, but they are. And they're located at 407 South 9th Avenue. Oaks Brothers had, new businesses in their facilities. Burbank Street Boutique is a contemporary, stylish boutique women's clothing. The Undiscovered Barrel is a unique tasting experience of various wines throughout, throughout parts of Idaho. And then the Cellar Wine Accessories and More is a unique shop filled with food and home accessories to elevate your wine tasting experience. And then just to mention one of our thriving businesses, I do go around Caldwell, downtown once a week to ask the businesses how they are doing. Mama provided me an update in terms of their guests. They have about 1,600 guests a week and are having to turn people away. It's reservation only. And that is due to space. They've had guests this month from Seattle and New York. So another thing that I ask the local businesses is to ask their customers where they're coming from so we can get a better idea of who's coming into our market, into our town. And then we did have a business that did close. The Godzilla Development did close. They do have two locations, additional locations, one in McCall and one in Donnelly. So that will be their area of focus. Although that business closed, there are other businesses who are interested in that space. So hopefully next month I can have an update on who will be in that location. And then finally, the Nampa Lions Club did invite me to share with them the great economic development that's happening specifically in our downtown. Those are my updates for the month of April. Stand for any questions.
Very good. Any questions for Judge? Mr. Alden?
For either one of you, is there, up at exit 29, there's like a strip mall and an old Perkins restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Is anything happening in that area at all as far as, that old restaurant or in that strip mall? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, that strip mall is actually at capacity. We did have, a business that was looking for space, a salon business that was looking for space. And they were specifically looking at that strip mall, and there's no vacancies at that strip mall. In terms of the magic recipe, I think that's your magic recipe. There has been no interest for the magic recipe at this point, but I think it might be owned by, it's owned by Godzilla. So they are the owners of Biscuit and Hogs. They also own Biscuit and Hogs and some rice companies. Mm-hmm, they own that up there, yeah. So not sure what they want to do with that space just quite yet.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, I saw something on Facebook, I think, that announced that, what's that? I knew I was going to do this. That deli out of Meridian is going to open there in Fat Guys.
Deli, yes.
How did I forget that?
Oh, okay. And, yeah, so, yeah, Fat Guys Deli will be going in the North Ranch, Business Park, right, by where, D&B will be going in that area.
Good. Any other questions for us? Very good, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that takes us to item number 3. We have an update report on the Lincoln property situation and what's going on there. Good evening.
Hi there, Mr. Chairman and Commission. My name's Taylor Yeh. I'm with Hamilton, Michelson, Hilty. I'm pretty new and helping out with Mr. Hilty. He's on vacation right now, so you're stuck with me, unfortunately. Just kidding. And I wanted to give you an update here with LCC West. They're still within their due diligence period now, and some things that have come up is that Idaho Power has an easement underground, and that infrastructure that they have in place is really interfering with the site development layout as we've all anticipated that they would be producing. So basically, there's not enough electricity that's going to be able to be at that site for what they've kind of prepared for. So with that, it's going to cost a lot of money to change any of that infrastructure, and it just doesn't seem to make sense on either end. So we're expecting to need to get creative, and the developer is very, ready and prepared to get creative with this, new development. But just a heads up that we might want to make an amendment to the DDA, in the future, or just kind of work together and see what we can do to, make this work. I'll be giving you an update here again in the near future when I have more to provide, but just know that we're working with the developer, and, he's kept us informed with everything going forward, so I'll stand for any questions on that.
Any questions for Taylor?
Remind me exactly which piece of property this is.
That was the McCain property.
That's McCain property, and this is a discovery that McCain didn't pick up on, or?
I believe that the easement, they were aware of the easement, they just weren't aware of the extent to which the infrastructure underground was built out. So, I could be wrong on that, but that's how I understood it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Takes us to action item number 4, consider the disposition and development agreement for 516 Main. And Taylor, that's you again?
That's me again. So, just an update really briefly, and then I'll let the developer speak a little bit on this. We're making a little bit of a pivot with Biscuit and Hogs, and, again, I'll let him explain a little bit more, but, we're considering doing maybe a new development plan, or, just kind of making some adjustments based on the renderings that he has prepared. So I'll turn it over to the developer here to give you more of an insight of what we're looking at.
Sorry, I was on the previous.
Oh, you were on, sorry, were you on LPC?
I'm LPC West.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No.
Should we go back, do you have something to?
I just wanted to add some more things, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sorry about that.
Thank you.
I don't want to jump out of turn, so.
And Taylor did an awesome job of describing, what's going on. I wanted to come up as well, just provide additional updates and be here in front of you guys as we are going through the due diligence process. I think I shared a site layout. I don't know if you all have it in front of you, or, okay. Yeah. I thought that'd just be helpful just to walk through what we're seeing and just help you all see the same thing.
We're good.
Perfect. Do you see it? I don't know if there's something to walk through. Oh, okay, sounds good. So you can see, I'll just kind of start talking through it based on memory. You can see how we oriented the building 2 on the southeast corner of the property. For us, it was a new discovery that the easement was there, and then Idaho Power just barely put in extensive power through that easement. It's all underground, but it's all encased in concrete, and so, we got estimates to relocate that easement, and it was upwards of $1 million+. So we said, hey, you know what, let's maybe work around it. So that's how we came up with this latest site layout, and I know it's definitely a variance from where we were before. Pretty close in line with our original square footage. Of course, we had to reduce it a little bit because of just how the site was. But anyway, so building 2, you kind of see it's only about 64,000 square feet. And then, we're trying to maximize and make the larger building still to where you can attract several tenants, but still maximize the square footage of that site as well. And then as Taylor mentioned, the whole goal of this area is to bring in jobs and employers and manufacturers, right? And we went to Idaho Power, we learned that there just wasn't the power capacity that we thought was there in the first place, and we're looking for about 4 to 4.5 megawatts of power to get out there, and then the cost is, again, we're pushing about $800,000+ to get the power capacity to the site. But as Taylor mentioned, we're still working through all the details, trying to figure out what that means. Just wanted, again, to come before you all And this, because the site layout will require, modification to the development agreement that we currently have in place. We are not reducing the total square footage of what is in the development agreement. It's more along the lines of the phasing plan, because what we said in the phasing, I think it was about 210,000 square feet per phase. But this one would be, 330,000 square feet in phase one, and then 64,000 square feet in phase two, right? So it just changes those things up. Again, we're working through the details, and we'll be working with Taylor and Mark over there, but hopefully we'll have those details nailed down really soon.
Okay. Thank you for the update. Any questions from the commissioners?
Perfect, okay, thank you guys.
Thank you so much. Now we'll go back to the 516 Main, and we'll welcome Taylor back again.
Okay, so just an update again on the Godzilla Project that's getting hogged. And it was originally proposed as a mixed-use development, and with some further work done on it, and I believe Mr. Alden mentioned how expensive it is to develop everything in construction these days. The developer's just realizing that it's going to be difficult to get the businesses in to rent space as he originally anticipated. So with that being said, we're going to consider some sort of new development plan. I know he's been in touch with Steve a little bit and planning on getting those renderings done and submitting those pretty soon, potentially even a new GBA. We don't have that as of yet, but just to put that in front of you all and make decisions how you will, but we are in contact with him and expect to have new renderings and things drawn up here pretty soon. So I'll stand for any questions on that.
Questions from the commissioners? Very good, thank you. Brings us to new business. Ms. Mitchell, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. You have before you tonight a request to approve $2,107,228.10 in payables. This breaks out into the following vendors and requests. Our City of Caldwell Economic Development, our May contribution of $18,000. Legal services for April are $6,500. The first draw request for the Chase, Creekside, this is $417,721. B&B caulking, this is for the Indian Creek Ribbon, the R&M, that's for the, what is it called again, Rob? Expansion joint, thank you. $105,000. And then City of Caldwell, various invoices there, $13,340. This is for the hot crossing over at 3rd Avenue in Illinois. Operating costs, miscellaneous operating costs and utilities and audit fees, $13,481.72. Our first invoice for pickleball court. This is for our design of $11,021.85. 21st Avenue parking lot construction, $686,622.05. Creekside underground power, that's over here at the hotel site, $111,628. 516 Main Street demo, $54,150. Griffiths Park restroom, $106,919.98. A repair at Hannibal Street. Is that the fencing route along I-84 that we just did that was crashed into? So the fence that was put in 2 months ago, 10 days after that fence went in, there was an accident. Someone went right through it and landed upside down on someone's house. So this is putting that fence back, $24,950.
This was actually a replacement for the old fence. The accident happened between construction, so it didn't damage the fence. This was a replacement.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that clarification. And then streetlight repair over at North Ranch at $5,230. 2022 irrigation assessment to the Caldwell Municipal Irrigation, $817.58. And then Benetton Construction for $49,990 for the floor replacement over at TVCC on the second and third floors. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Questions,
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Warwick?
I know we've got Creekside draw number one, $417,000. Do we know about how much did we commit there?
We committed $3.2 million.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Doty?
I just want to clarify, so it says repair Hannibal Street, but it's not repairing it, it's new fencing?
Rob?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Doty, that is correct. So there was a fence, a chain link fence that was along the north side of the interstate between exit 27 and exit 28. That was in poor condition, and had been repaired a lot of times incorrectly, and so that entire chain link fence stretch was replaced. So, so instead of repair, it should say replaced. That would be correct.
Mr. Chair, so I just have a question, so was it replaced with approval, or just replaced and now we're asking for money for what we already replaced?
That's a great question. It was approved, through Urban Renewal, I think, last year. This project was actually done a little while back. It was covered by the city, and now Urban Renewal is reimbursing the city, and so this was all, I think this actually came through Urban Renewal back, probably 6 months ago or 8 months ago. So it was approved before it was done.
That makes sense, I wasn't here quite that
Yeah.
long ago yet, so I just clarifying, so thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Chair? Mr. Ramirez?
And please, correct me if I'm, not, remembering this correctly, but didn't we turn TVCC over to the city?
Correct.
So why are we getting an invoice for repairs that the city should be covering? I mean, that's how.
So this repair has been in the budget to do for 3 years under Urban Renewal before the transfer happened. So the commitment was there to replace those floors.
Thank you.
Good question. Any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion to approve these invoices for payment?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Ramirez, second by Ms. Warwick, second by Mr. Ramirez. Would the secretary call the roll, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Doty. Okay, the next matter, Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you.
Whenever you go, even a voice vote, if you would please, please start. We're testing this out, so full of capability.
Are you missing anyone?
Got an A, yeah.
I got an A.
Never had an A before.
You got an A?
That's definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, so it timed out before. Okay. All right. Okay.
Do we need to do it again?
No, we're okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Back to you.
thank you. Chairman, Commissioners, you have before you tonight a ratification. This is for a payment made to Pioneer Title Company in the amount of $1,000. This is for earnest money to be put down on 213 South Kimball Street. So where that is located, it is part of that whole set of 3 businesses over here on Kimball. We currently own 217 and we own 215, so 213 is right next door. And this is earnest money to be put down for a purchase coming up. I believe that's on tonight's agenda under attorney update.
Yep. Okay, do we have a motion to approve this invoice for ratification? We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Warwick, second by Mr. Allgood. Pick up your clicker. And would the secretary call the roll, please?
Warwick?
Yes.
Doty?
Yes.
Porter?
Yes.
Allgood?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Ramirez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, good work.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Feeling better about life. Back to you, Ms. Mitchell. for the treasurer's report.
Thank you. Chairman, Commissioners, you have before you tonight your monthly bank reconciliation report. We're going to start in that yellow box and start at the bottom and move our way up. We have a total of $10,118,958.88, broken out into the three following accounts. LGIP account, $116,716.78. The Banner Bank CD, $250,380.49. And then the Banner Bank operating account of $9,751,861.61. The Banner Bank breaks down into the following categories. We have our restricted projects of $8,744,215.99. Our TBCC rental income, $742,442.18. And our restricted URA job creation or land account of $265,203.44. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for Ms. Mitchell? All right. Do we have a motion to receive the financial report? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. August, second by Ms. Warwick. Now let's do it again. Would the secretary call the roll, please, and use your clicker?
Alvin?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Porter?
Yes.
Jody?
Yes.
Warwick? Yes. Ramirez?
Yes.
Very good. Back to you, Taylor.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. August.
can I ask Ms. Mitchell or Taylor, either one, last month we had a brief discussion on whether we had to invest more in irrigation out at, the North Ranch area. We weren't sure whether we were responsible for additional costs out there. It's going to be researched. Am I remembering correctly? Okay. While we were discussing money, I
Yes,
just wanted to.
thank you.
Yes, Commission President, Commissioner Allgood, we had a meeting with BVA, some members of the BVA group, and their question was regarding the irrigation. There's a big agreement that was put in place for North Ranch, and it stipulated what the Urban Renewal's responsibilities were versus what the developer's responsibilities were. It was their impression that the agreement was vague when it came to irrigation, but it was clarified by Mr. Hilty himself, stating that the irrigation discussed in the agreement was discussing specifically the gravity irrigation and the main irrigation culverts that had to be moved in order to construct the roadway system. It was not intending for the Urban Renewal to pay for a new pressure irrigation system in conjunction with their development. And so we have indicated to them that was our stance, and that's where we felt like things were at, and at this point, they have not pressed the issue.
So we're not obligated any further, just kind of final result?
Yes, that's where we are right now.
Okay. Thank you, appreciate that.
Ms. Mitchell.
If I may, I'd like to add a little bit of clarification back on the report to approve the invoices, back on action item number 1. Hopefully this might clarify some confusion Commissioner Doty might have. Where you see listed under vendor, City of Caldwell, these are invoices the city has paid and cash flowed these payments, because since the Urban Renewal Commission meets once a month and we approve invoices to be paid once a month, some of these due dates with these vendors, we will exceed if we wait to pay these once a month. So the city pays these on behalf of the commission, and then on a quarterly basis, we will come and seek reimbursement for these. So Mr. Doty, Councilman Doty, this is why perhaps that one item with Hannibal Street was a little confusing, because we've already paid that a couple months ago under the city.
Thank you.
So does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Great, thank you, Carol.
Mr. Chair, Chairman and Commission, I have a brief update for you on the South Kimball property as well as the 7th and Main, Creekside Development. I'll start first with the Kimball property. As Ms. Mitchell previously mentioned, we've just acquired the 213 South Kimball property, and, under the new change in circumstances that Olive and Vine has been under, they're no longer able to fulfill their obligations with the 215 and 217 properties. And so now we'll be offering an RFP with all 3 properties combined. And so that's where we're at with that South Kimball property. I'll stop there for any questions before I get into the Creekside Development, if there are any on that new development there.
If I could just, Rob, if you could bring that up, so maybe, the entire commission could see what properties we're talking about and what was just purchased, just for information's sake, and why it was done. If, you want to describe those for the commissioners?
Yeah, so this is the Norman. This is the Norman.
So I believe it's the Norman Jewelers, we have there's a hair salon there, and I'm forgetting what the third property is. It's a vacant property there, so, those are the 3 properties that we have, right across the street there from Grade 2C and all of that.
So the original RFP went out for the 2 properties that the city had owned for 215 and 217, but that kind of left 213. The Norman building is kind of an outlier, and it was going to be standing there by itself and lose all its value probably if it wasn't combined. And so over a number of months, Steve Jenkins and Mr. Brown went to work, and we were able to purchase that building. The Norman business will continue to operate until end of the year, and then they will actually leave the building in February, I believe. So it's a good time to go back out for an RFP that includes all 3 of these pieces rather than just 2 plus whatever was destined to be. So, any other comments on that, Carol or Rob or Steve?
Mr. Chair, I have some questions.
Sure. Mr. Ramirez?
And somebody refresh my recollection, don't want to forget things. There was some discussions that we had about, there was a wall that Norman Jewelers had to reinforce, do something with. Did we commit any funds to doing that, repair or, whatever it was that we were going to do with that? And now it's changed because we purchased the building and those funds have already been committed for that?
Great question.
Great question, Commissioner. So, yes, there was discussion. We did have an engineer come in, take a look at that, and so we just had some engineering costs tied to this building that we paid for the wall, that you were referring to for stabilization. We have not moved forward with any other actual costs for any kind of wall repair or stabilization. This opportunity came about, and so we kind of put the brakes on that and said, let's see if we can follow through on this opportunity. So as well with this opportunity, when we had that workshop last month, Months of Blending 2 months ago, and we went through all these projects, we had a line item in that spreadsheet that I called the Norman building, and we had $500,000 in that budget for. So if this acquisition goes through, that will be applied. So that is already in our budget for this acquisition, as well as demoing the whole, all 3 buildings.
Thank you, Carol. Okay. Back to Taylor.
So last update for you is, Creekside Development there at 7th and Main. As mentioned earlier, they've started digging on it, and, again, I think it was 2 months ago, we mentioned moving the trash compactor and relocating that. I am told that will be taking place here in the next few weeks as well, so more updates to come as that gets started. And that's what I have for that property. If anyone has anything else to add on that. Any questions?
Any questions from the commissioners? Okay, very good, thank you. Well, we've heard from the pickleball people, so we did our due diligence there. Commission reports. Ms. Warwick, anything to share tonight? No. Mr. Brad?
Just that a few of us went out to the park and looked at that area, and those tennis courts are in pretty bad shape, and I don't know anyone that would use them right now if you don't do something with the tennis courts. So.
Mr. Dave?
I think you said it, you just walk across it, you might get hurt.
Yeah. It's a liability.
Let alone playing with it, you know.
Chris?
I concur on the pickleball course, and these people are definitely heavily invested. Just to give you something, that I'm working on, I've talked to Debbie a little bit about it. I'll pass these signs around. These signs downtown say free parking, but unauthorized vehicles will be towed right under the free parking sign. And that they were put in place, and Debbie can probably give us more information, but they were put in place because it's public parking, the police department won't tow anybody for 5 days. You know, but people are spending the night there and doing that kind of thing. But so there is a parking issue there. I just have trouble with the sign saying free parking, but unauthorized vehicles will be towed. It seems to be counterproductive to.
Need to change some verbiage there.
Yeah, so anyway, Debbie, can you, if you want to enlighten us on it,
Yeah, let me just give a little background. When we established the no overnight parking along the railroad all the way down after it's down to 12, those signs were put in place at that time. And there usually is not a problem except around that train depot parking area, which would be to the west of the train depot. There seems to be a lot of overnighters in there, and we've got quite a few complaints from the merchants there that they would wake up and in one instance there were socks hanging out the window and different things. I mean, it was obvious that they were actually sleeping there. And so in contacting Caldwell PD, you're right, Commissioner Allgood, but they can't act immediately on that, and it is definitely a nuisance issue down there. So the suggestion was brought forward to Mayor Nicolas in my office at the time that we could expedite the process, and we talked actually to Doug Waterman at the time about posting these signs that are actually from the towing company, and they do that frequently at other sites, and probably you're familiar with that. And so because of a lack of signage, they put the deer on the same pole, probably because there wasn't any place else, but we certainly will redo the signs that say that it will be continued free parking, no parking overnight, but we'll just have it separate.
I do have a question on that too, go ahead.
I'm a little bit confused because we have the same ordinance citywide for all of our parks. And when someone's in the park after 11 p.m. and go knock on the car or whatever, say, get out of the park. And I don't understand why, as far as lieutenant rights concerned, this would be different because we've done that for many, many years.
That part I do not know why they felt like this was such, because technically, the train depot, when we constructed all that plaza and all that, it's part of the park. It
Right,
says no one there beyond 11 o'clock.
And we don't have tollway signs in all our parks. And so, and I can work with them on that. Anyway, I just want to bring this to you guys' attention because it seems counterproductive when parking is such an issue right now. But anyway.
Yeah.
And I would just add, and then Chris maybe will, or, Commissioner Elwood may be able to add to this, but, a lot of times they require payment right away, so from the city, and the city has to recoup that from the vehicle owner. Do you know where the city? They haven't done that to us yet? Okay.
They're our preferred toll, and so we do not pay right now.
Okay, so we worked that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not our liability.
It can,
It has already been enacted at least one time, that I know of, just recently actually.
And I've noticed down on the 12th Street end, 12th Avenue end, people are parking cars, and junk cars getting in there. So, yeah, I'll talk to this one, right, but those signs, especially downtown in the business area, just don't, free parking, unauthorized, am I authorized or am I not authorized?
Right, it's confusing. And you're right, down at that 12th, I was at 13th and Arthur. So, yeah, I drive down Main Street right there a lot, and people that live along there are parking back there. They're using it and they're all there all the time.
And it goes in first, because some of those are rental properties back there, and so at first, everybody was really continuing, some not doing that, but now it's doing.
Very good. Mr. Ramirez, anything else?
Just like, since we're talking about parking, with this, Creekside Project that started down there, the parking is unbelievable for any downtown business. My wife and I eat at, the steakhouse, fairly regular, and, used to be you could pull up, find a spot, now it's impossible. You've got to park several blocks away and walk down, which is fine, we enjoy doing that, but it sure has made an impact. It's affecting me, obviously, it's affecting the citizens, so I'm guessing we'll be hearing, not us, but the city will probably be hearing lots and lots of complaints about parking.
We have a parking workshop coming up here real soon too. Is that the next one, that year, the two,
The last one, we have to go to be the,
Parking last Thursday night, it was 10 blocks out. Yeah, I was gonna go to that event last Thursday night. I rode the bike around, just looked at all the parking, and where people were going from crossing out here, I mean, it's almost dangerous.
Was all of that parking there along the tracks, is that all taken up? Back behind the theater, or is it?
Yeah, people were parking clear down to Chicago.
Yeah, I go down, but since I was at 13th and Arthur, I walk, so I don't worry about it.
I just have one more comment.
Yes,
sure. So, Commissioner Allgood, maybe you'll have some input on this as well, but does the code still require, because clearly my job doesn't have me doing too much parking anymore, but, that it gives notice to where the vehicle is going as well, doesn't have to list what tow service is taking it and the numbers of the tows, I mean, it's pretty outlined.
Register letter goes to the RO.
Right, but I think the sign actually has to tell folks where their vehicle was towed to, and
It did.
that did say it on there, okay, I'm just making sure.
That's why we have.
Okay,
yes,
all right,
It's their signage, actually, that they put it.
okay, perfect.
Okay, and I just have a couple of things, just to remind you about the bus tour coming up on the 19th, a week from Thursday. They'll pick us up right here at the front door of the police department at about 5:45 and then we'll leave by 6. And then, we'll make sure that everybody gets a copy of the route that we're taking and what we're going to see. And Steve Foltz will act as our historian for the old district, and Steve Jenkins for the what's coming.
Mr. Jenkins, are we stopping by any wineries or breweries, or is that off the list? I think that is off the list.
It was off the list.
Yeah, I couldn't squeeze it in, I tried to, but yeah, couldn't get it in there.
But we will need to treat this as a workshop, and there will be, Angie will be with us, and they'll be recording the meeting and taking notes, so it's formal, and they have requested that we sit near the front, so all those things can be done, but it's gonna be a 72-seat bus, and, so it's a big one, it's for 72 segments.
Right here, you said?
Yes, right here. And we'll make sure that we send out another reminder in the next week or so. Also, next month, I'd like to have somebody from the city come in and explain the process, how a project is brought before urban renewal for consideration. A lot of times the first time that we see a project is when it's brought in a list of projects. I think it would help our education just to see what the steps are to come up with a project, who's asking for it, what our role is in determining how to apply urban renewal funds and decisions to it. So we'll be asking for that to come next month. So item number 7 on our agenda is an executive session pursuant to Idaho Code Section 74-206, subsection 1C, for the purpose of discussing the acquisition of or an interest in real property not owned by a public agency. We need a motion to go into executive session, so if somebody would like to do that. We have a motion, and second by Mr. Doty. Would the secretary call the roll?
Warwick,
Yes.
Walden,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Ramirez,
Yes.
Porter,
Yes.
Doty.
Yes.
Okay, we will go into executive session.